Here, me.
B94.
The cheers from the Dallas crowd, it's haunting, while my heart just breaks in shades of grey. I refuse to play the blame game. The loss cuts deep, it's a bitter shame. I refuse to play the blame game. Making excuses ain't the Steelers way. Can't win them all, so the saying goes. Whoever wrote it ain't from Steel Town. How the season winds up, no one knows. But today I wear a Pittsburgh frown. I refuse to play the blame game. The loss cuts deep, it's a bitter shame. I refuse to play the blame game. Making excuses ain't the Steelers way. I refuse to play the blame game. The loss cuts deep, it's a bitter shame. I refuse to play the blame game. Making excuses ain't the Steelers way. Making excuses ain't the Steelers way. We still live to play another day.
B94.
Sound the battle cry.
Battle cry, battle cry.
Boots on the field, yeah. We make some noise.
We make noise. We make noise.
The black and gold swarms with a heart of steel.
Of steel, of steel, of steel.
Tomlin's at the helm.
At the helm, at the helm.
And it's all so real.
So real, so real, so real.
Cause I'm watching. And I'm leading. And I'm winning. I'm with the team I'm rooting for. I'm strategizing. Never quitting. Quitting. Black and yellow. Flowing through my core. Cause it's crunch time. And the steel curtain. Whoa, curtain. We blitzing. With the force we're bringing more. I'm commanding. Steel spine vision. Steel city. Pumping in my soul. We got the power. In every hour. Pittsburgh rushes in. Here we go. Defense like iron. Our position's firing. But we're here to win. We're here to dominate.
Yoy!
I'm not gonna worry about your level of concern.
Yoy and double yoy!
We talking about Twitter.
Triple yoy!
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Quadruple yoy!
Never give up on the Steelers.
This is a product of your journey, and your journey's not over yet. Woo!
We love Pittsburgh, PA. We love Steeler Nation.
We mock ourselves. Days like today, I do not love Steeler Nation. We spent the last 9 months in anticipation. I don't have much going on for me. I spent 9 months waiting for the Steelers season to start. And then come October, first week of October, it is the bandwagon has broken an axle, and we are not going to make it to Independence, Oregon, or whatever.
Thank you for beating me to the Oregon Trail reference. I was going to go there too.
Just these, it kind of reminds me of Joker 2, because I saw Joker 2. And man,
I'm sorry about that too.
Everything is so negative about it, but you know what? It was fine.
Okay.
It was fine. Okay. But it's not what people wanted it to be. They wanted it to be something else, and just like the Steelers, it's not what we want it to be. And it doesn't mean that it's deserves a D on Cinescore or whatever whoever's Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm not going to see either Joker movie, but I'm
not going to, I'm not buying the DVD or anything, but it was fine. Okay, it was fine. It was what it is. You have to accept it on what it is. Just like this Steelers team, you need to accept it. And I'm not, I'm not going to. Lady Gaga ruined the Steelers season. I'm not playing the blame game.
Yeah, you can't say that, Ed.
I didn't even want to, didn't even want to be looking for takes this week because everything was just so nasty.
I mean, it's and maybe a lot of that I think is circumstances. I mean, this is a game that starts late anyway and is delayed, and then it ends with a walk-off loss at home, and then everybody either A is giving their takes all night, or B is giving them in the morning when they've gone to work on 3.5 hours of sleep.
Oh yeah, I think my favorite part of the game was when Fields was, might have had that concussion for a moment, and it was kind of quiet on the field, and I could hear someone in the background going, "Come on, we ain't got all night," or something. It's like, come on, Steelers Nation. And then I found as reluctant as I wanted to be on the internet, but that's what the show is. So but I did find a pearl of internet wisdom. It was out there. It was like finding a needle in a tweet stack.
Good luck.
And it said, what you have to remember about the past is that it literally doesn't exist. It only exists in your mind, your memories. No more real than a daydream. What you have to remember that your memories are most likely not as accurate as you think they are. Rewrite the story to tell about yourself to yourself. Rewrite your past, and you rewrite yourself. And as I said, it was like we got to rewrite the narrative because it's in the toilet.
Well, that's also, this is totally not what this podcast is about, but that's a good self-help care thing. I mean, that's something I deal with a lot in rehab and treatment centers, and therapy teaches you to do that same thing. And also, apparently, as a fan of a football team.
Yeah, like everyone wants to talk about the good old days of the Killer Bees. How many Super Bowl appearances? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know, just 7 years, no playoffs. How bad it was. How bad was it? These have been fun seasons in these past 7 years, nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
So we soldier on. Why? I don't know. Because we got 2 new subscribers.
Hey,
it's what Yinz Talkin Bout. The conversation about the Steelers' crappy conversation.
Woo.
Welcoming to the show new subscribers, Ken Sheehan and Todd Stritter.
Hey.
So, get a review in maybe.
Stritter.
And we'll get you in the running. We just gave out, we just gave it the September giveaway. Has been named Kevin Walton. And he wants the 73 book, so I got to make sure I have it back here. No, I got it. I'll be getting that out probably this weekend, Kevin, via media mail, so it'll only get here in time for the off season, I'm sure. So keep an eye out for that. Remember, you can get it in our sweepstakes giveaway by giving a iTunes review, and maybe something, a second thing like subscribing counts or
Certainly.
a little. We've got a new review here.
Okay. Please.
What Yinz Talking About, a great break from Steelers quote-unquote news. Tired of the so-called experts flipping from calling this team Super Bowl contenders to toilet bowl based on the opinion of the team's plumber? Tomlin haters or doomers got you down? Or maybe you just have to laugh so you don't cry about the team and your fellow fans. Fellow fans. Join the accounting team of Kyle Chrise and Greg Benevent as they check receipts and keep it light with reasonable expectations, funny Steelers songs, interesting interviews, and a general feel-good take on our Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm glad someone thinks this is feel-good.
Yeah, I was going to say, when have you been described as feel-good? That was great. I
think I'm miserable all the time, so I'm glad that it's...
That was a lovely review, though, in all seriousness. That was really great. That was well-written, that was erudite, and that was very well descriptive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vic. I think you are in the running now.
I will hope.
Yeah, that will... I'm sure you'll be the next winner because the reviews are few and far between. All right, enough caucus. We won't even tease what's coming up because guess what? It's all pretty poopy. Let's get to these stinking takes. We'll start with the might help if I put the camera. Thank you. At D from CLT _. Why can't we lose a game and not get to blaming people, LOL? Do y'all expect undefeated seasons? Or treat every loss, it's fire this coach, trade this player. When we started 3-0, it wasn't none of that. Some of y'all be switching up. Yeah, a lot of switching up this week. I'm not playing the blame, man. So much blame game. I tried to leave some of those tweets out. It's impossible, but I was just like, I'm not blaming. Just like it's like we try to find the blame game every loss. Who we blaming it on? Those guys are playing too, the other team, and
certainly,
and sure, mistakes are made, but nothing that. It's not like we're firing the coach on a Tuesday like up in the Jets County.
No. I think some people were. I mean, it's certainly reasonable to be disappointed. It's certainly reasonable to be upset after a loss, and one where a lot of the loss narrative went into the lack of effort of certain players. But yeah, sometimes the other guys have the best player on the field, which is absolutely what happened in that game Sunday night.
This was a play away from being one of the greatest Steeler games, at least in recent memory. If Landon Roberts, if we recover that fumble, if Killebrew is able to pounce on that ball before Dak, if even the play before that when Dak tries to sneak it in himself and Minka knocks him out of bounds and the ball does come out, if it would have trickled into the end zone or something, or this would have been one of the all-time highlightable moments of the season. It's literally a game of like it comes down to a single play.
Some of the many drops the receivers had. If George catches that ball, if Van Jefferson catches that ball, if Connor catches that ball, I think Connor's would have been the toughest catch. I think either one of any of those might have led to a field goal drive, which also makes this very different. Yes, this was a very close game. Just like we keep coming back to, the other team had the best player, and they were able to overcome their weaknesses far more so than the Steelers were.
Right, yeah, that Connor Hayward catch, if he catches that in stride, that might have gone to the house, and then they're playing from behind the whole game, and it's just like one stinking play, and shouldn't have you all been in bed by then anyway? I don't know. I feel like I agree finally with an insider at Mark Cabali. Craziest thing about the Steelers, if they would have held the Cowboys on 4th down and 1, the masses wouldn't want to fire Tomlin, Austin, Kahn, Artie. Art Smith, yeah. Force Rooney to sell, trade Pickens, cut Najee, ban Snoop from Acrisure. Yeah, I agree. It could have been that 4th down play. It could have been the Landon Roberts. It was just anything, and all of a sudden that becomes one of the great games of the season.
Certainly, but I would say that if they'd stopped them with that 4th down, you'd still be hearing a lot of trade Pickens.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to that. I think I might be on Coach Tomlin's side. Earlier in the week I was like, oh man, but I think I'm on Coach Tomlin's side maybe when it comes to Pickens. We'll get to that in a minute. Just some more vibes here at RP2872 underscore junior, Ray Porter Jr. 3-0, Steelers can do no wrong. 3-2, the Steelers can't do anything right. Blah, blah, blah. It'll all be sunshine and roses if we beat the Raiders on Sunday. Why? Because winning solves everything.
That's right.
Right? 4-2.
That's the most sensible tweet you've had. Yeah.
Yeah, 4-2, and I'm like, let's go. You know,
4-2 gets them back to. They only have to go 6-5 to go 10-7. So that's the rest of the season.
That's football math for you.
Yeah, and that's with that the second half of the season still looming, and I know that the AFC North maybe hasn't come out quite as strong as it's looked, but it's still the AFC North, and those are still divisional games. So yes, the rest of this schedule is still daunting. So yeah, it would be very beneficial to win this one, and everything this guy says is right.
Yeah, would Steeler Nation, would you rather be the Bengals when your quarterback's going, yeah, we're really not a championship team at all? Like, man, if you know, that's like that's Chooks talk there, you know?
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Certainly not a guy that's got what, $200 million, whatever they paid Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, or the Browns. What if we were the Browns here and we're we got Mr. Monopoly coming for our money every week.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not even. I mean, that's one where I was like, I guess you could fire the coach, but hey, he didn't sign Deshaun to that contract. The guy might still be a good coach. I have no idea.
Yeah, people are saying they're going to have to trade Watson and a draft pick to get rid of him. You know?
Yeah,
so
100%. Who's taking on that contract to even renegotiate it? Yeah.
So I would much rather be a Steelers fan than any of those other teams.
Well, Baltimore's coming on. I mean, that team's starting to really put it together. But
yeah,
but it's also the first part of the season too.
And their defense doesn't look anything special either. You know, I'll put Justin Fields or Russ against that defense. But the Tomlin hate continues. I don't know. It was like the trailer was last week after last week's loss, and now we've got the full on. You know, we've got Joker 2 here. We'll get to the Tomlin tweets. Nope. At Gage_returns Fields better. 4 different quarterbacks, 3 different offensive coordinators, same result. It's time to start a conversation. I'm not saying we need to fire Tomlin, but if we can't get a new approach to this problem, how long are we going to do the same thing and expect a different result? So what is the new approach that we need? Everyone just wants to, why aren't we out there slinging it 60 times a game with Justin Fields, who is known to throw picks when you...
Right, exactly, yeah. I mean, it's one thing, you saw how the overwhelming talent of the Cowboys, the reason this game was close was because Dak did make bad turnovers. Otherwise, this can and probably should have been a blowout. That shows you just how bad turnovers can be, is the fact that they kept the Steelers in the game for the first half and maybe more. So this conservative approach, unless you have this great franchise top 5 to 10 quarterback in the league, which Dak absolutely is, then yeah, this is the way to play to at least give yourself a chance to win the game, which this team had multiple chances to do so.
This isn't, video game Madden. Look what happens. You could be like the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, and he's still throwing 3 picks. Oh, that's, that's supposed to be an MVP quarterback. So I'm down with playing to, they're playing not to lose. No, this is a strategy to win. And, you think Tomlin, like, people are just thinking, like, why is he so blind to this? No, he knows what he's doing. It's not, this isn't just like, whoa, what are we going to do? And putting our heads in the sand. This is a plan.
Yeah, and the plan is to give the team a chance to win, which in these last 2 losses, as frustrating as they've been, they had multiple chances to win, both on offense and defense.
Yeah, it's like, stop doing this to Mike Tomlin, right? Don't we have a sound like that? Okay, I don't know.
Steeler fans, you are out of your freaking mind.
Yeah, out of your minds. How about... Let's go. An insider I agree with here. Let's go to at @Saunders_PGH, Alan Saunders. The impact of coaching is way overrated, mostly because no one has a coach jersey in their closet, so it's more convenient to blame those guys than the players you are emotionally invested in. I think Steeler fans are well more than capable of blaming players too.
Certainly.
But you can't. It's not the coach's fault that Fields, in the first quarter was overthrowing guys by just a fraction of a thing, or people were dropping balls that at least should have been contestable catches, or that they were decimated with injuries that that they couldn't stop the run or on third down or just anything on third down.
Yeah, and I think the last is the closest where you can get to an argument of, hey, the coaches should put these players in other positions. But geez, oh man, there still is only so much you can do. I mean, I wish I could credit them, but I forget who pointed it out. It might have been in the postgame show where when Joey Porter Jr. made his interception, the outside linebackers were Jeremiah Moon and Loudermilk, because TJ had taken himself out of the game too. So, I mean, imagine how livid the Cowboys fans would have been if they'd lost that game and they didn't decide to do anything to run against that outside linebacking duo of two guys, one of which is not an outside linebacker and the other is absolutely practice squad.
Yeah, we, Loudermilk we weren't even sure if he was going to make the roster this season, and now he's, starting, and then we've got, Reverend Sungyeon Moon on the other side.
Yes.
This is not since Archibong have we seen a defense like this.
That's a really good analogy, Archibong, and and that's Mon Adams was the best thing to come out of that defense, and so hopefully they find similar gold with Moon, but geez, oh man.
When are we going to stop doing this to Mike Tomlin?
When? And we need football justice for Tomlin. One more thing on Tomlin. At Jake Vicious Mingo. Jake Vicious Mingo. Tomlin hate is so stupid. They have an elite defense, and they simply don't have the personnel on offense. Fields never consistently scored touchdowns. Our number 2 wideout is Van Jefferson. Roman Wilson is yet to play. Running backs and O-line are injured. How much do you think they can do with this offense? Is it like a JV offense? I guess we'll get to Arthur Smith in a moment, but do we just have the completely wrong personnel for this for this season?
No, I mean, and Tomlin is still somewhat involved in personnel. So I mean, if the wrong personnel are out there, he is still the head coach. So on some level, it does fall on him. But they don't have an elite defense when all these guys are hurt. It's a good defense, certainly. It's better than most, but it's not elite anymore until somebody comes back. So I can't agree with that part of it. But yeah, the offensive personnel, the offensive line, which mercifully can seem to improve and at least played okay. But yeah, the running backs and the wide receivers are a serious issue. But these are all things that, the running backs were addressed, and the guys are still hurt, and the wide receiver thing is still a mess.
It is. It's a mess. It's a mess. I was worried about the O-line coming into the season, and it seems to be everything but maybe. But the O-line isn't.
They've struggled too. I mean, it's with so many injuries, there'd be no way for them not to struggle. But there's this. I think that's the other thing that people are responding to is that there were encouraging things in the loss to the Colts. This was a lot less encouraging. This loss.
Yeah, this has got to be the toughest loss. I haven't gone back and looked at every schedule, but man, this is in recent memory. This is the toughest loss since the Browns in the playoffs.
I would, or the 49ers opener last year, where it's like so. I'm just thinking something more recent. I mean, your point is certainly valid. It just turned so much in terms of like people's expectations for this team crashing after seeing what this team can do on a given Sunday night.
Yeah, but at least that game wasn't, it was pretty much over in the first quarter.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yes, 100%.
Oh, all right. Let's talk about Arthur Smith.
These are the new leads. These are the Glengarry
leads. We're saving them for Vegas, I guess. The Arthur Smith takes are in, starting with at the Pony Express, Andrew Filipponi. The Arthur Smith honeymoon is over. I don't know. I think last week it might have been, I don't know, there were breakup rumors in the...
Yeah, exactly. I think as soon as they lost a game, or I think you're right, as soon as the offense didn't win a game that the defense was not elite in, that was always going to be the end of the honeymoon with the fans. I mean, all these takes about how bad Artie Smith was and all that, hey, I mean, that's... if I see a wide receiver wide open drop a ball that's in his hands, I'm not knocking the offensive coordinator. He did something to get that in the position where that wide receiver was there and was open. So I see that, I'm like, okay, that's a check mark for the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and it looked like they did come out with a plan. It's some of these passes to Connor. At first it was like, man, they're really getting Connor Hayward a lot. But it seemed like that might have been the plan. They were like, hey, this is the matchup we can utilize, and if only the execution was just a smidge better, I think we would have been talking like, oh, how brilliant Arthur Smith was getting, exploiting this matchup with Connor Hayward, and
I also think, speaking of that first drive, if the honeymoon for Artie Smith hadn't ended last week, it would have running on that third down play in the Cowboys half of the field to set up the Boss field goal. That one when that like 3rd and 8 and they ran. I think that was when I heard the too conservative really start.
Yeah, you are in the same book as at Cam Hayward fan, Billy Hartford, Matt Canada watching Arthur Smith call a running play on 3rd and 8. Now, here's, in that moment, though, I didn't, we knew it was probably going to be every point mattered in that kind of game. Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't, as far as
I didn't
setting
hate it
up
as much at the time.
Yeah, setting up for the field goal, I didn't hate it. It was, it went from being like a 50-yard field goal to bringing it down to like, 43 or something.
And there is a non-zero chance you catch them by surprise. Maybe you're running against nickel or dime, and you have a chance to break it through, even though they've had a real lack of that with Najee running. It's because it happened so early in the game. It's a lot easier to criticize it in hindsight. I didn't mind it so much at the time, but I mean, it is by its nature conservative. But I don't see it as this grievous flaw.
Yeah, playing for points, and when every point matters, not trailing from, we weren't coming from behind. I didn't mind it in the moment, because Boz is almost money. It's almost automatic, and so it's like just get the points and get out of there. Although sometimes we've been going for it on 4th when I'm saying let's get the points and keep going. Oh, yeah. But in that, I don't know. That wasn't to me the most egregious, even in the moment. In hindsight, definitely it was not the most egregious, but even in the moment. Okay, what about at Timbo Slice 910, Tim Flannerly? Steelers are the most boring team ever. Is it still Matt Canada? Are we ready to say it's Mike Tomlin? I guess this really isn't an Artie Smith tweet, but I don't know. Is it the most boring team? No, they're not the most boring team. I don't even like, even if we were. And what I mean, I don't.
How are we defining boring? A boring team is one that's not competitive. This team is always competitive. This sounds like someone whose mind has been utterly polluted by fantasy football.
Yeah, I don't want to be BA style offense where we're just gunning it up. Maybe.
Yeah, the Killer Bees were in a lot of exciting games, and they lost a lot of shootouts too because that defense couldn't hold those leads because Antoine Blake was out there covering guys. No. Exciting football is competitive football.
Yeah, and if you want excitement, then wait for the defense to take the field when we're knocking balls out in 3 turnover game and a blocked field goal. Like, man, we build excitement, Pontiac. Yeah, most boring. Please believe me, I'll take the boring. I'll take boring.
Boring is like the losses to like the Eagles and like those losses to the Bills. Those games are boring. This is not.
My heart, my heart rate didn't pick up until the 4th quarter there. So, please give me more boring. I guess let's go back to A_Saunders_PGH, Alan Saunders. The idea that the Steelers are bad on offense because they're conservative is getting it all backwards. They're conservative because they're bad on offense, and they probably rightful. Don't trust their offense not to screw it up. I feel like there's a lot of truth to this.
Yeah, I do too.
They're playing. Yeah, they're not playing not to lose. They're just like, how can we win with this, with what we have here? It's not too different. It's not too different from the Kenny years.
It is, and I also realized these 2 points. What I'm about to say addresses the last 2 tweets, which both what Alan says and the other guy said. Boy, whatever criticisms you might have of the Steelers in this past game, you can't say they only threw it short. They definitely threw it deep multiple times. It just didn't connect. I mean, it's, the one over Connor, all those other drops. But yeah, they definitely threw it deep. They were trying to make this more exciting for you. They did open it up. It just didn't work.
Yeah. Van dropped one that could have been.
Yes.
I mean, that wasn't a shallow. That wasn't a bomb, but
no, but that wasn't like a 5 yards swing pass, neither.
And then there's the one that maybe should have been picked. That wasn't. And even the throw to Connor Hayward, that was stretching it vertically.
The Charlie Batch line always is, if you touches your hands, you should catch it. That Hayward, I think, was right on the line of where that's in good faith and where it isn't. But yeah, I've always thought of what Charlie said.
It's tough. Wet, can't blame the field conditions. It was for both teams, but
right.
That probably had to be a factor. It's at least with probably not running max speed.
Oh yeah.
And he made contact with the ground. It pops the ball out of. It was probably a little slick. It's these are factors matter, and that's why it's why it comes down to a handful of plays every game. All right, let's talk about the receivers because that seems to be.
Why didn't he pick him up with a bat?
That seems to be the headlines of the week, I guess. I don't know. At Jerry the Kid 21, Jersey Jerry. This is disgusting. We've got the passing stats with Najee Harris leading the way, 2 receptions for 35 yards. Van Jefferson, 26. Pickens, 26. Connor Hayward, 23. Freiermuth, 22. The new guy, B. Johnson, 1 for 9, which was a key, though. Maybe one of the most important. Calvin Austin, 1 for 6. I don't even remember that.
No.
And Washington's 1 for 5. I don't remember that either. So, yeah. So the passing stats, the receiving stats were less than ideal, but disgusting. I mean, just it didn't happen.
I mean, it's. I'm so glad you brought these stats up from the most loathsome person so far on this show. So that's absolutely
apparently a diehard fan, but this is disgusting.
Jersey Jerry, yes.
Yeah,
it's oh my word. No, I mean this is unacceptable. This is disappointing, and this cannot be the case moving forward for this team to be successful. But disgusting is always a little bit of weird nomenclature.
In the first couple weeks when everyone was defending Justin Fields, well, if Pickens would have caught that one that wasn't a flag and would have caught that and would have caught, well, why don't we would have caught some of these this week? And
definitely would have caught these this week. Would have changed things a lot.
Okay, moving on to at Scarpizio, Scarps. So many things I'm about to say. Okay.
The sign of a good tweet. Why are you I mean, it's of all the terrible things Elon does, making tweets so long that you could put this kind of nonsense at the beginning is right up there.
A preamble to a tweet here.
Why does it have an introduction?
So many things I'm about to say. Let's start with 14. Way overhyped, lack of versatility and consistency, immature, pouts, bad body language, things you can control, snap management. Yeah, okay. You do not win with guys like this. I don't know what I want to focus on. Immature.
For me, it's lack of versatility. That's the one I think is the biggest argument against which you can make. I mean, they've certainly tried to use him in far more ways than Canada did, where Canada was just like, well, I don't know what to do with you. Go deep. So that's the rest of it. Overhyped. I mean, the hype comes off of us seeing things that he's actually done. It's not like we had to be told how great he was. We've seen all the amazing catches. The rest of it, I mean, immature, pouts, bad body language, snap management, and lack of consistency. Yes, I think that's all pretty valid. But yeah.
Yeah, he's not Tynes Ward, okay, but is he AB? I mean, I don't know, to be determined, maybe.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's he's not AB on the field who managed to keep that nonsense from the field up until the moment AB couldn't, and of course when AB quit on the team, which would be a consistent thing throughout the rest of AB's career. But yeah, I mean, it's you never heard all this about AB jogging routes and giving up on it and the bizarre stuff with the eye black. Oh my God.
I was hyped for that initially, but then man, it was exactly the opposite of what happened in the game.
Right. Yes, it's and I forget who brought it. It might have been Arthur Boats that was like, "Hey, who is that message directed at?" I don't think it's directed at the other team. I mean, it's like
it could just be self-motivation,
optimistically, yeah.
I'm always effing open. I don't know.
I thought the funniest thing about it was on Wednesday, all the tweets going out. The NFL is investigating the eye black at George. What is there to investigate? He had it on his face on Sunday night. I think we can put the case together, detective.
Yeah, we're not getting a 30 for 30 on the eye black there.
How many interviews have you done with witnesses? Anyway.
Monster Season 3, the George Pickens story. I'd watch it.
The investigation.
But something Ben used to say, though, he was like, you want to get these guys involved early. You remember how they used to do wide-out screens or even an end around just to, put the ball in their hands. I don't know.
Canada did that with George. However, there were end arounds with George in the last couple of years. There really were. For almost assuredly this exact reason.
It's almost like, hey, why don't we just make the first play of the game a screen pass to Pickens just to, let's just to get him in the game.
Well, by that same token, that drop we're all complaining about, that was in the first half, right? I mean, that's very much within the context of what we're talking about. That getting you, he catches that, then he's in the game. I mean, he just puts his hands together. He's in the game.
Okay, trying to withhold judgment. But at Carter Critiques, Christopher Carter, this is in reply to someone who said George Pickens should be suspended a game for this. Suspension talk aside, this is beyond a problem. It was the last, I to be honest, I turned it off at this point, and I didn't watch this play, so I didn't see. But yeah, Pickens grabs, is it D.D. Lamb by the face mask?
No, it's whoever wasn't the last play an interception or they got the ball. So this is the guy. I mean, the guy definitely danced and said something to him. Like, it was very much taunting George. But you can't do this.
No, this would, and are you happy with how Tomlin addressed it? It was not, well, he said, we'll address this, privately or something.
Well, I think it was, I forget, it was a year ago or it might have been his rookie year. And it's what I always think about when I think about George is that Kovacevic said in one of his many, many things that he says online about how Tomlin, for whatever reason, has always agreed that George is getting the opposite of tough love. Tomlin has determined that in every way, George is not getting the tough love. He's getting the soft love, the support, the build-up. And so everything I see after it, that's what I thought the press conference was. It was every context of that Tomlin absolutely lying to us, which is fine. I have no problem with Tomlin lying to the media, lying to the fans. That's 100% all right. If he thinks that's the best way to deal with George, hey, he got the most out of AB. He got the most out of Martavis until they shipped all of these people away. Yeah. So it worked for him. So if that's what Tomlin thinks it's going to go, that's fine. But what I come back to in this with George is where Tomlin, if you want to know his real feelings about it, watch that play again in slow motion where George drops the ball and watch Tomlin. He throws his hands up in disgust, and he turns his face away in the other direction.
Oh, really?
If you watch
I didn't see that, yeah.
Yeah, as people have, slowed it down, you can absolutely see it. He throws his hands up, he puts them on his back, he turns his back on it and faces the other way.
On the third down miss.
Where George doesn't catch it, where George drops it. And Tomlin's wearing a big white shirt. You can't miss him. Those are online, and that's how Tomlin actually feels. Whatever he says is what he feels he has to say, and that's fine with me. Again, Tomlin can lie to me and the media, and who cares? Because the audience for anything Tomlin says about George at that press conference is for George. So if that's the way you're going to get the most out of him, great. Other than that, I don't care what Tomlin says.
That's just dirty rumors.
Dirty rumors. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so what about the issue of snap counts? Mm-hmm. We've got at David Todd. Just because Mike Tomlin didn't say it in a post-game presser doesn't mean George Pickens wasn't being sent a message, held accountable, or benched. Pick your term last night. Fans and media begged for this kind of accountability. You got it right. He's saying that Tomlin did, punish him in some way.
Yeah.
Although, if you go back and look at this, so-called snap count gate, he was still out there for every if it was a 3 wide out set, he was still out there. It was, some of the heavy packages when he wasn't out there.
Sure.
And I don't necessarily mind that. I mean,
no, and I think the fact that you don't, it shows just how there's two sides to this. I think one, I think is what a lot of people pointed out, Carboli among them, is that when you look at the top flight wide receivers, team's number one wide receivers, George has many fewer snaps on average than them, than your Ayuk, than your Kirk, than your hill. But I think what speaks to your point is that they're also, look, if this something Tomlin does know at this point is that George is not always the most willing run blocker.
Yeah.
So if a guy that, his effort isn't always going to be there if the ball isn't going to him, so why not keep George out of it for some of those running packages? I mean, obviously the counter argument is, hey, you at least want them to kind of have the at least the fear that George is going to run past somebody and they'll fake the handoff and throw it deep to him. But I can see the argument about it. It's kind of the ultimate passengers v. hostages on heavy packages here.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, you don't want to just telegraph, but then again, then you can put Connor Hayward down the field in a sprint. And
absolutely, yes, and he too can drop the ball. Although again, I find it very hard to blame Connor for that catch. Although it would have been nice.
Would have been nice. Would have made him a star that night. So many people was just a moment away from Steeler stardom. Speaking to what you said a second ago. At B-Wall, B-Wall, in 2024, CeeDee Lamb has played 287 snaps, 83%. Jamar Chase has played 275 snaps, 88%. Justin Jefferson has played 271 snaps, 87%. Tyreek Hill has played 254 snaps, 73%. George Pickens has played 241 snaps, 73%. Well, as a percentage, yeah, sure, as a total number of snaps, man, that's a lot less. But as a percentage, you're still talking 3 out of 4 offensive snaps he's out there.
Certainly, and I am struck by that the other number one receiver that has the almost very similar percentage is the other one that is playing the backup quarterback.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I mean, you technically could say Darnold, but I mean that team's undefeated and having the greatest season in start in Minnesota history. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean that's it's but I do believe he was benched a bit, or that some kind of something to try and make him accountable on Sunday night. I think, to speak to the earlier tweets, people don't see it as accountability because of what we talked about. Tomlin didn't go up there and rail out at him at the press conference or something, as if any of that would have helped.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a situation where someone was obviously benched. Well, I mean, Dante Moncrief, after all those drops, that was pretty obvious.
Right. But even then, I don't think Tomlin went up at the press conference like, man, Moncrief sucks.
He's benched. Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, the player I remember him referencing the most in terms of effort, come to think of it, was the punter.
Oh, Presley Harvin.
Presley Harvin, not effort, but I meant just as in, I think that guy got called JV more times as a player than a lot of other players did.
Or, I mean, I don't know if this is an equivalence, but maybe Mitch Trubisky. We wanted to see some different results.
That's true. How many guys get benched? Get mitched. Maybe that's the right phrase. Get mitched twice. We should start using that. He wasn't benched. He was mitched.
Mitch and Mason on the duck year, maybe.
Right,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's right. There was a lot of that. But even then, it's not like Tomlin went up. It's like, man, that guy was JV. Oh my word! Which of course is what, again, it's people. You still got to understand, when Tomlin gets up there at the press conference, he's managing the emotions of his players, not the emotions of you, the fan.
Yeah, he comes in such a different. On Tuesday, man, I was still feeling bummed, and he came in there like, okay, so so after watching the tape, blah blah blah, he comes in. I don't know how he gets past those games like that.
Oh
quickly.
No, and it's again. That's, look, what George did was unacceptable after the game. But I remember watching it and thinking yeah, I'd do the same thing. That's I like to think I'm a little more emotionally mature than a 23, 24-year-old. But yeah, I would struggle with that as well.
Let's talk defense. Or the defense we were ready to put 12 Yellow Jackets on just a couple weeks ago. Now, at Mic'd Up Sports 1, Mike Nicastro, incredibly frustrating. Plenty of blame to go. Again, there's the blame game. Plenty of blame to go around, but ultimately your offense puts you up 17-13 late, and the highest paid defense in the league gives up a final drive touchdown. Plenty of fingers will be pointed. Mine are at 12 guys, 11 on defense and 1 on Coach Tomlin. There was a lot of highest paid defense. Well, first off, it's T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Patrick Queen. Right. It's Joey Porter isn't the highest paid defense.
No. Ogunjobi makes more than you. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I don't think it is the highest paid defense without Highsmith out there. I really don't. Which he wasn't, and that was the issue. I mean, I didn't notice the exact snap when it occurred, and I don't know if we mentioned it, but one of these guys pointed out how the entire game changes as soon as Herbig goes out.
Definitely. Yeah, it was. It reminded me of 2021. It was just like can't get any pressure, and so they're going to do whatever they want. They're going to convert on third, can't get pressure. They're going to run it. They ran it on third for first. Just no, like people are figuring out TJ at least to the point where he's not going to be a factor on every down. There were some games, last year or even in 2021 where it was like, he's a one-man wrecking ball.
Well, he also takes himself out of the games a lot too. I think it was Saunders even pointed out in the postgame that he thought TJ might have not been hurt, but been bugged by something because he took himself out of the game more than he usually does in the second half. I didn't necessarily notice that, but that is something not like TJ showed up on any kind of injury report or anything. If you want to blame, as much as this is going to be the fault of the coaching, it's that they weren't able to adjust to use the strengths that they did have in such a way that the other team was able to game plan to take advantage of all the new weaknesses with the injuries. But again, how much of that comes back to the other team having the best player on the field in Dak and maybe the second best in CD Lamb.
And we've got Beanie Bishop is contributing heavily, and he's a undrafted rookie.
And I mean, he made a couple nice plays, and he made a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a lot of the times where you were like, oh, was that Minka? Was Minka out of place? And then you go back and you're like, oh no, Minka saw that maybe Beanie was out of place, and so he had to adjust there. Okay, what about it really all came down to the very last play. And that is from at Tommy Jaggy. Can't blame Deshaun Elliott here. He sifts through traffic and plays this well. Just a perfectly placed ball from Dak, ball game. And here we've got this is a frame grab from the very last the touchdown play. And look, they're in man coverage, and it's pretty sticky defense. And if I could have if I had the video, I could rewind this a little bit. When the guy who caught it makes his break, you could see Beanie Bishop is kind of sticking to the running back in that situation, and maybe if he would have just faded a little bit more outside, maybe that could have been maybe would have been incomplete, or maybe forced Dak to throw differently. TJ. They chipped him with the tight end. The tight end was on his butt. TJ knocked him down. Now he couldn't get to Dak in time, but this was. They were sticky on the goal line there at the end.
Oh, yeah, no, again, it was the best player made the right play. It's just whenever Beanie makes a lot of mistakes, I can't help but think there were other options instead of Beanie. I mean, if they'd wanted to get Patrick Peterson, he wouldn't have started another podcast. It's if for as many mistakes as Beanie has made, and he certainly made some plays, and he very much could become a player, I can see this being a mistake so far on the part of management, on the part of Tomlin, for not replacing him with somebody more experienced who also, maybe wouldn't be as fast, maybe wouldn't make some of the positive plays that Beanie did. But whenever Beanie does make a thing, I'm like, man, there's a reason that a lot of teams don't start undrafted rookie free agents.
I can't wait for Cam Sutton. He was a starter, a season ago. And so I'm just thinking man, that would have, would that have been the difference in some of these third downs? Especially if we can't get to the quarterback. Speaking of, should we just pick on Beanie more? Let's stick with at Tommy Jaggy. Beanie Bishop versus Cowboys. 8 targets, 6 catches allowed, 90 yards allowed, 2 penalties. I don't even remember the penalties. 111.5 passer rating allowed. Dak found the weak spot. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Hey, let's. Are we going to throw it at Joey Porter? Maybe not. He got a pick when he threw at him. Are we going to throw it to Dante Jackson? He got a pick. Well, okay, who's left? Let's throw to Beanie Bishop.
And it worked. And I think this is the kind of thing that frustrates some Steelers fans fans too. They're like, okay, when do the Steelers do that? When is and that could be the kind of thing that I think gets back to Alan's point about, well, maybe they're a bit conservative to do that, to try and attack with this offense that maybe they don't necessarily trust.
Well, and the Dallas was missing, Minka Parsons.
Oh,
and
yeah.
their other.
Injuries are no excuse for losing this game. Not when the other team didn't have Parsons.
And we probably, that was, we seemed like we wanted to attack their weaknesses. The running game couldn't get going, and then drops in key moments.
Yes. Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
seems like a broken record over here. Okay, now let's get to what this really bugged me this week. And this isn't the only take like this, but I will feature at J Bailey NFL, Jarrett Bailey, reigning hater of the year. The Steelers had Brian Flores in their building and let him leave to keep Teryl Austin as defensive coordinator. 3-0, undefeated, and it was like best defense since 2008. We were comparing it to 78 and 73 and all these, dynasty defenses. Now it's all, Teryl Austin needs to be fired, and what a screw up. We let Brian Flores walk, even though Brian Flores is like the military man and maybe not the style that Tomlin endorses.
And I think he's 5-0. I think that's where a lot of this comes from. That defense has been a revelation in Minnesota. But
Teryl Austin is no pushover as a defensive coordinator. Let's let's not forget. In 2023, Steelers had the 6th best scoring defense, 8th in turnovers, 8th in first downs allowed, 5th in red zone touchdowns allowed, only allowed 1 second-half touchdown in the final 3 games during the Mason run. We talk about, Mason saved the season. I don't know, maybe the defense did too. In 2022, even though we started 29th in opponent yards per game, after following the bye, we allowed the NFL best 272.9 yards per game. We were the third least in third down conversions allowed, and tied for the most interceptions.
Yes.
Even back when he was a DB's coach in 2020, we held 11 opponents below a 60% completion percentage. I think the team average for the season was 56.7% completion percentage, a quarterback rating of 76.7. Not only led the NFL with that last one, but were the lowest by a Pittsburgh defense since 2011. Teryl Austin is an exceptional defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I was just going to piggyback. I was going to agree with you. I mean, you made some great points. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to go on with, he did all that last year with people. People have already forgotten just how absurd what happened to the inside linebackers last year was.
Yeah.
How many insane injuries they had. And look, you want to talk about Flores? That's great. He's going to be a head coach next year. He is absolutely, and the Steelers, as we know, honor contracts. They had the contract with Austin, and here's the thing: say they make Flores the defensive coordinator. I'm sure the defense would have been very good. Probably would have been pretty similar to the way it was the last 2 years. And Flores is already a head coach again, and now Austin's the defensive coordinator. Like, do you know what I mean? Because he was stayed or someone very much like Austin is the defensive coordinator. Because Flores is not going to stay a defensive coordinator for long. The only reason he hasn't been a head coach yet, most likely, is that frankly the Minnesota defense has been disappointing the last year with him. This year they've taken off. So I agree with you, Kyle. I think Austin's a fine defensive coordinator. I mean, there's some question of how much is the defense his, how much of the question is Tomlin's, and the answer is who cares. The point is, it's Austin is somebody that Tomlin likes to work with, and for whatever their combination, however their work relationship is, it usually translates in a great defense. I think, and Kyle and I talked about this off the air, I think so much of this is coming from, too, how good they've been in one-score games.
Yeah.
We saw them lose 2 in different brutal fashions in the span of 8 days, and hopefully that's not the the reversion to the mean for as great as Tomlin's number is in one-score games. But I think that kind of leads to this vitriol in all directions.
That is a reasonable expectation.
And don't forget the connection that Tomlin and Austin had. When Austin was in Michigan, he was already not grooming, but he was already politicking for Tomlin to get into a big school. He was already saying, oh, when I leave Michigan, I'm going to make sure that you get my job here in Michigan. So their connections go back before 2007. They go back, 25 years. And Austin is a native Yinzer. He went to Sharon High School. He played safety for Pitt for a 3-year starter. Yeah. So it's like, get this Austin hate out of your mouth. It's like I think that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing, Steeler Nation. Ugh.
No, Austin's done a fine job. He really has.
Anything more to say about the defense? Oh yeah. How about
Wolf?
At Faribaugh FB, Nick Faribaugh. Mike Tomlin says that the Steelers will play Isaiah Loudermilk on the edge moving forward with all the injuries to that group. It's like this. I would have said a week ago, beat Dallas, beat the Raiders, easy. Now I'm thinking, I know exactly what they're going to be doing. They're going to be running right at 92.
Yeah, absolutely. He made the play of his career in blocking that kick. But yeah, that is going to be a mess having him at outside linebacker. I'm surprised they didn't go out and bring back Kyron Johnson or someone else that went to camp with him. But yeah, it's going to be a tough, close game between two very banged up teams.
We need to see some more pressure from Keanu Benton, who has not necessarily been invisible, but could really use some visibility this week. Or maybe, we haven't seen a ton of blitzes. Maybe that they got to. I think the Raiders are starting Aiden O'Connell or something.
They announced that on Wednesday.
So
yes.
maybe we're going to blitz Queen and Robert some more or something.
It might be the place for that. They had a nice blitz with Queen the other night. So yeah, I think that could be more blitzing at something to throw O'Connell off. Sure.
Okay, just for the record, at Carter Critiques, Christopher Carter, Steelers defense gets a turnover on the Renegade drive. So we haven't got a 3-and-out yet on Renegade, but Renegade is technically 2-0 on drive stops.
Oh, I didn't know we were keeping a Renegade counter. No,
why not?
Good. I think it's a great idea. Good idea.
Although could use a 3-and-out. I think that's a true testament of.
Yeah, that would be that. I mean, that's also feels more likely and attainable. One of those more Tomlin's reasonable expectations versus a turnover.
Yeah. Okay, we haven't talked about it until now, so we'll save the best for last.
QB22
+2.
Where are you? We've got some work to do now.
Okay, all right. The QB talk is on, starting with at Real Clark 25, Ryan Clark. The toughness Justin Fields has shown tonight is a thing that makes a team rally around you. The play has been imperfect, but this young QB has played hard. He laid it all on that line. He certainly took the hits this week. I thought this might have been it might have been, the end of the line.
But, yeah, when Fields went into the blue tent, this is all true, and I could see maybe with another year with Fields that could mold him into the starter. But geez, I forget who pointed out the stat: 5 fumbles in 5 games. Oof. I mean, they only lost one of them, but that I know that weighs heavily with Tomlin.
Yeah, and as much as I like what he brings running wise, that's the only thing about Russ. I'm just like, man, Fields can bring if we're struggling with the running game, Fields kind of brings a dimension that can open that up.
If it's 3rd and 2 at the 44, and it's do we have Russ throwing 5 yards to Muth? I guess that feels so much less percentage to me than let Fields try and figure it out with his feet.
Yeah. What about at Jay Bailey NFL, the return of Jarrett Bailey? Justin Fields isn't what's wrong with the Steelers, by the way. Far from it. Dude threw 2 scores, protected the ball, made plays with his feet, led a potential game-winning drive with Van Jefferson and Connor Hayward as his top receivers. Come on now.
Mm-hmm. I think that's valid.
Yeah, I mean, 4th quarter Fields was fine, I guess.
Yeah. And even 3rd quarter one wasn't bad, and he made some throws in the 1st and 2nd. The slow starts are an absolute problem. But I don't know if Fields can elevate all the guys around him. I don't know that Russell can either, but I do think it's a lot easier for Tomlin to look at those 5 fumbles after 2 losses than it would have been at 3-0 now that maybe Russ is getting all the way back to health.
Yeah. And this, this strikes true to me.
Yes, and me as well.
At Jeff _Scialaba, Jeff Scialaba. Mm-hmm. If Justin Fields wants to be the permanent starter, this is the kind of game you need to win.
Yes.
It's definitely. Even last week, I don't know what there is to say about that.
I agree. No, 100%. I mean, this is the kind, right. If you want to be the guy that they have faith in, you have to be able to pull these games out, and you can say, oh, the defense didn't do this, and all these guys dropped this. Okay, that's all true. But if you want to be the guy, you got to overcome all that.
Yeah. That's true. Okay, enough said, I guess. What about? Are there any? Do we have Russ supporters yet? How about? Oh, come on. How about this? At Jack _Sperry, Jack Sperry, your favorite YouTuber. Pitt has now lost 2 straight games they should have won with Fields under center. Is that all his fault? No, but I wouldn't blame Pitts for giving Russ a chance at this point. They can always go back to Fields if Russ crashes and burns. What do you think is going to be the? Is it going to be an in-game moment that brings Russ in, or are we just going to see Tomlin pull the trigger and say, let's give Russ a shot here?
I mean, first off with this tweet, I would change should to could. They lost 2 straight games they could have won with Fields under center. I mean, if you listen, what was it? Fittipaldo said that he could see if Fields struggles in the first half against the Raiders, Russ could come in at the half. I mean, I think that would be determined by the game. But I do think if they win this game and it's another 17-13, 2016 kind of game, then, I could see Russ being the starter against the Jets.
It's my quarterback.
They pull a Trubisky, you think?
I think that Trubisky, I was thinking about it. Specifically of a Trubisky, it took, 2.5, 3.5 games.
Was it the 4th game?
Because they struggle again on offense against the Bengals, but they win.
Yeah.
They lose to the Pats, they lose to the Browns, and then that first half of the Jets game is ugly. And that's where, that's the one where Deontay's foot was an inch out of bounds or something on the touchdown. And then they go to Kenny at the half. So, and then Mitch got 3 games last year. He came in after Kenny got hurt against the Cards. He loses to the Pats and he loses to the Colts. So 2.5 games, 3 games. That seems to be as long a leash as Tomlin gives anybody. So we're coming up on game 3 of losses and struggling offense maybe. So this starts to be now what little history we have can kind of get us to when you're in that sort of Tomlin danger zone.
I don't send messages. I just make moves.
Right? He's just going to make the move, I guess.
Could very well come to that.
This is, I think this is a pro Russ.
I think so
stat
too.
Here at David Todd. Kyle Allen now second most popular Steeler behind TJ. His body of work is impeccable. Ha ha, funny. But I wonder if Russ, Kyle Allen came in there and then showed poise, threw it over the middle. I wonder if that was what you might get from Russ.
Or what they're thinking, too, about, okay, here is just a traditional pocket passer, a guy processing quickly, getting the throw out where it's supposed to go real fast. I think that's a really good point, Kyle, that is a pro-Russ tweet. And how could they not think that after Kyle Allen has sat for months and then just comes out and whips it on that good pass?
I would have if I was betting, I would have bet 100 out of 100 times that would have been a run play, waiting for Fields to come back in. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought of that time. Well, remember when Dobbs did that at the 25-yard pass in Baltimore from the end zone? That's the only thing that made me think Allen might pass, was remembering how insane that play was.
Yeah, thinking, exactly. What are they doing? That's the only time when I was like, what? Fire Tomlin? No. Okay, let's get to some damn dirty rumors. At Steeler Nation, a new report states that Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson was medically cleared weeks ago. This came from Dulac. we heard that if it was a playoff game, Russ would have been in there, We
heard that in Atlanta.
Yeah. So, but I can't imagine that they would make Russ not the backup,
right?
If he was anything less, anything reasonably ready to play.
100%, I agree with that. And I thought, again, we keep returning to Alan Saunders, whose content I do enjoy. He made the point. He said, "Look, I've been watching these practices for weeks. This most recent practice was the first one where Russ ran." Where Russ was running around as opposed to just kind of shuffling his feet, and walking and throwing the ball. So you can't really be, it's one thing, you don't have to be Justin Fields, but if you're going to be the quarterback, you will have to do some degree of running. Yeah. And for him to just be doing it now does give some credence to what Tomlin has been telling us.
That's
and again,
just dirty rumors.
Yeah, dirty rumors. There's no way that, because just to appease egos, like, right. Russ is the number 2 now. Oh, no, I don't see it. So let's take the pulse at Chris Mueller, PGH, Chris Mueller. Who should start against Las Vegas? 52% Justin Fields, 48% Russell Wilson. Wow. The tide has turned because it was Fields all off season or all beginning of the season.
Yeah, and particularly 3-0, it was very pro Fields. This is shifted. As it's going to after back-to-back losses. It does seem, the smoke and fire argument that we will see Russ sooner or later versus, Fields Mahomesing it up on Sunday.
Yeah, we didn't. It didn't work out that way. No. Not yet, at least. Oh, the band is on the field. Okay, Renegades have made the way or something. Okay. Yeah. Just one last thing here from at B Wall, the return of B Wall. We out here, Santonio Holmes in the building. This is from the, I don't know if this is the official terrible quote, which is truly terrible tailgate,
yeah, it really is
or
terrible.
Just a various tailgate. But we've got a guy front and center bringing the Kenny Pickett jersey to Acrisure. If you bought the Kenny Pickett jersey, you must have another jersey.
You would think, but I gotta say, the first thing I'm struck by this picture, we out here at this tailgate, and the sun is clearly out. So how long were you out at this tailgate before kickoff? That's hours and hours and hours before you might have been out here a long time. The other thing I'm always struck by with Santonio is that, it's the players allegedly didn't like him when he played and all that, but once he retired and got out of the game, he completely turned things around, and he's a wonderful guy, and he's around a lot, and people like him. So what I'm saying is people can change.
Yeah, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Also, you go, we've heard this from so many players. You go somewhere else, and then you're like, oh no, Pittsburgh was the place to be.
Indeed.
And we haven't heard Santonio really praise Tomlin like some of the others have, but I bet that's the big reason. I don't know.
He's also around a lot. It's in Steelers things, functions, and I assume if you are, then you're at least somewhat on good terms with Tomlin, right? That would be weird otherwise.
Yeah, you're not coming back for the locker rooms that apparently smell like pee.
Well, those are the visitors' rooms. Visitors' rooms smell like pee.
Oh, okay. Purposeful pee.
Yes.
Okay, I think that is what we've been talking about today. Once again, always going long.
That's what we've been talking about.
I tried to cut it down. I didn't even search half the week. I was just like, I can't take these takes.
Good for you and your mental health.
Yeah, right. Spend all year, 9 months getting ready for Steelers, and then in a matter of 8 days, it's just down the toilet. The stupid fans. Okay, all right. Keep the conversation going on social media. We started a Slack channel. I think we've got 2 people that are enjoying it.
I thought it was a Twitch, and it's a Slack. I got to make sure it's more connected to my phone so that I can participate more. But yes, come on the Slack. I can send you basically all the weird stuff I send Kyle throughout the course of the week, and it's usually bizarre things the Steelers are selling.
Yeah. What Yinz Talkin Bout .slack.com. I think that's anyway.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can hit me up on Twitter or TikTok. I'm at Kyle Chrise. Greg, how about yourself?
Unfortunately, you can find me on Instagram at Greg Benevent. B as in boy, E-N-E. V as in Victor, E-N-T.
see us every Saturday at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, California, home of Batman, or at least the Batman statue.
It's a real statue. Like, you would think Batman won 3 Super Bowls outside that movie theater in Burbank.
Leave us your iTunes reviews and subscribe on YouTube and tell your friends to tell your friends, and because it's just like eventually I'm just gonna give up on this if all 100. I think we got 70 some listeners on through the podcast and maybe another 70 some on YouTube. So I need to compete with these haters like Jack Sperry and Jarrett Bailey and whatnot. All right, until next week, keep listening to your coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.